The only religion I received really was attending church with my friends. This included evangelistic type churches where the priest would put his hand on the parishioner's head or heel. It would faint in front of everybody. It's a little overwhelming when I was a kid. It was a little much. My other best friend was Baptist, and I went along to theirs. Good, energizing, but what I remember most always, it's kind of bad to say, but between funerals and a couple of masses I went to, I remember the tradition and of the Catholic Church, just how beautiful it was. Always stuck with me, but that was the extent of my religion. I remember that lived with me for quite a while until one day, now that's when I was a kid, fast forward to about 2006, 2007, we moved out here. My wife and I started having a discussion about, we wanted to raise our son, who was 2, 3 at the time. We wanted to raise him with religion in his life. We always felt that's the proper way. Let's give him a good basis and let him build on that. So we started talking about it. My wife was raised cradle Catholic and was one stronger in her faith than I was. When deciding how we raise our son religiously, she was a strong proponent of the Catholic Church. And based on my experience, what little I had and the way it affected me, it also got my vote also. So we decided to raise him Catholic. The first thing I had to do to be a proper example for my son, I had to go through RCIA. I was only baptized Catholic at the time, was never converted. So I wanted to do more than just go to church, just show up with him as he went through his learning process. I wanted to be the example, so I went through RCIA. And at this point in my journey, I was doing this all for him, not for me. At least that's what I thought. I started attending RCIA at St. Anne's here in Gilbert. I really appreciate the staff at St. Anne's for really opening my eyes. Not only the RCIA staff, but especially Father Greg Smart, who used to work there. If anybody been there, the guy, the Holy Spirit just flows out of that guy. He's so inspirational. I love him. I met so many people there that were examples of who I wanted to be in life, and the example I want to be for my son. It didn't take long for the Holy Spirit to enter me, and I quickly realized I wasn't there just for my son. I was there for me. I needed this. I wanted this. I began to get involved with the church. I became a minister of Holy Communion. I helped out with youth programs. I even joined the Knights of Columbus. I'm not current, but I'm rethinking it. My new religious life helped me be prepared for a new job move at the Gilbert PD. I've been working as a patrol officer during this time of religious growth. In 2010, I was selected to be a detective in the Gilbert Police Department's Violent Crimes Unit, also known as VCU. We love our acronyms. VCU handled homicides, armed robberies, aggravated assaults, to name a few. But by far the most numerous investigations we conducted were death investigations. If someone killed themselves, if they were not previously expected to die, meaning they weren't dying of cancer, some disease that everybody knew it was coming, and it was sudden, or an accident at home, we were brought in to make sure that it was a natural death and not something made to a homicide made to look natural. There's a good chance between 2010 and 2016, while I worked that position, that if anybody in your family, anybody here in Gilbert died during those years, chances are I could have been there for that investigation and been a part of it. We're talking, I witnessed a lot of death, a lot more than most people have to deal with. From babies to toddlers to young children, teenagers, young adults, all the way to older people. I thank my faith and everything I learned through our Saturday and everything, how it built me inside and helping me mentally to deal with these deaths. I felt honored to be there. It was all a mindset. I felt honored to be there and be the one to handle these cases, to be there for the families dealing with their loss. Believing in God, I know these people are in a better place, and that cycle and headed up there. I think you all know where it's going. After about 4 hours of hanging out, I'm ready to go and ask my friends if anyone else is ready to head back to the East Valley. No one was, so I rode off on my own. Next thing I know, I was in the hospital, and it was 3 months later. I have no recollection of what happened, but here's what I learned from my wife and Department of Public Safety. I was southbound on the 101 when a Toyota Tacoma came up behind me at about 110 plus is what the best I could determine, and center punched me from behind. You look at this car, I've seen pictures, it's completely V-shaped. It looked like he hit a pole. The driver continued on, and a few miles away pulled into a 7-Eleven. His first words to the clerk on duty was, "Don't call the cops." Even though the truck was severely damaged, all airbags were deployed. When the driver went into the bathroom of the 7-Eleven, the clerk called Scottsdale PD, thankfully. At about the same time, someone had seen the debris on the freeway. They never saw me, they saw the debris, and called it in. I was still there talking stick area at Salt River Indian Reservation. No one had seen it, but Salt River jumped on to see what it was from. And they found me lying in the number 4 freeway of the freeway. It was roughly around 12:30 at night, thankfully. Didn't get hit by anybody else, but I was still laying there. DPS came out for the investigation on the freeway. Scottsdale PD and DPS put 2 and 2 together, found out what was going on. The driver was arrested that night and spent the night in jail. I had been transported to Scottsdale Osborne in critical condition. No one knew whether I was going to live or die. I had several broken ribs, broken scapula, punctured lungs, a fractured neck, some really good gashes on my face and head. Thankfully, I was wearing a helmet. I have some. And a whole lot of deep skin burns, road rash that required numerous skin grafts. Kind of what you can see on my hand here. It's all kinds of different places. The officers on scene had found my wallet badge laying in the roadway. They called my department, and notification was actually made to my family by my command staff. Kind of like in the line of duty shooting. It's kind of surreal. After a few days at Scottsdale Osborne, I was moved to the Valley Burn Center in Phoenix due to me now being stable, but I saw some very serious burns on my body. I spent over 4 months in the hospital, was kept very drugged up due to my injuries. Probably part of the reason why I couldn't. I was responsive at times in those 3 months, but I don't remember anything. I don't actually know where I was till 3 months later. By the time I realized when I woke up, I had a tracheotomy, which I always keep shirts covered over. I still have that deep scar. And they had me in a halo device. I don't know if anybody knows what that is. Big metal device that gets drilled into your forehead and in the back of your head in 6 different spots, so I couldn't move my neck. I was in that for a good 5 months after that total. That's what these little dimples are in front. I actually tell her that's where my horns were removed. Let's see. I got paralyzed at one point, and also with being in bed so long, aka atrophy. I had to learn to walk again and to build my strength. After my hospital stay, my 4-month hospital stay roughly, I spent a month and a half in a live-in rehab center, and on November 13th, I made it home for the first time. And the accident was June 27th. After months of physical therapy, on May 2nd, 2022, I got a return to work full duty. The only thing really going on, my kidneys no longer function, and as a result of the collision, so I'm required to go to dialysis 3 days a week. Now, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. I'm trying to figure out this new life with work, dialysis, but I'm making it work. The suspect in this case was sentenced earlier this month, just a few weeks ago. He took a plea. My wife and I were able to speak before the court. I, with the judge's permission, directed my statements directly at the defendant. I didn't want to give this statement to the court. I wanted it face to face with the gentleman who hit me. My first words to him, which I truly felt, and wish upon him, or I forgive you. That's truly how I feel. In my mind, he's just a 25-year-old kid who made a mistake that night. We all make mistakes. But the same way I would tell my own son if he made a mistake, is when you make a mistake, you have to pay the consequences. Although I told him I forgive him, he did have consequences to pay for his actions. My only hope, and this is all I told him, my only hope is that he learned his lesson through this and doesn't make the same mistake again. He'll spend a short time in the Department of Corrections, and then I hope he becomes a successful and contributing member of society. No more guilt. What happened is done, and he will have paid the price for it. Time to look forward to the future, for him and for me. So, this is where I can really spend. My wife and I, we spent a lot of time in the backyard just talking about the crazy year we just had. And how extremely grateful we are for all of God's graces. I blame everything on God now. Everything is a gift. Just something He's given in my life for a reason. Blame being a good thing, not a bad thing. It's a miracle I survived the accident. It's a miracle I did not get hit by a passing car while I was laid out on the freeway. I was paralyzed, but now I can walk. When I came to, my skin grafts were pretty much healed. They look horrible, but there was no pain. I completely missed all the pain. I was blessed with no memory of that whatsoever. Not only these miracles, but the wonderful people God put on this earth and put in our lives. So many people picked up the slack to take care of my family while I was laid up. Whether it was small donations, meals sent to our house, just a simple text to my wife showing their support. A buddy of mine who came every week and did my Thanksgiving. My wife's best friend, who was a primary contact, took over kind of parts of our lives to give my wife time to tend to me. All of it is a huge support and gave me personally peace of mind that if anything ever happened to me, God has put people in my life to take care of me if I'm not here. God also provided the heroes that worked in the medical field. Not only the doctors who got me where I am today, but all the nurses, technical staff, custodians, meal servers, every employee there at this hospital were basically, not only I lived, but my wife lived for 5 months. They all contributed in some way. Small, simple things they did for my wife or the conversations they had with her that kept her sane day in and day out at the hospital. More gifts from God. This was not an in-the-line of duty injury, but the way my department supported me through this event, and they continue to deal with my diagnosis, was and is nothing more than amazing. Another gift from God. I almost didn't get to see my son graduate from high school, but my son, who had every reason in the world to give up, still graduated with honors, 3.75 GPA, and I got to be there when he graduated this year. Due to COVID protocols, my son only got to be with me one time during those 5 months. I had 6 months I was gone. The man basically basically had to take care of himself during this incident. It wasn't easy, but he managed, and I am so proud of him. It's another gift from God. My wife was by my side every day until I was finally able to care for myself. But actually took until March or April because of that halo in me getting my strength back. She's definitely my hero. Her marriage was good before, but it's gone to a whole new level since. Not that I'd ever want to go through this again, but so much good has come from this experience. It's when that proverbial, you know what, hits the fan that you truly realize what your partner had made. My poor wife had to do things to me in her 40s that I figured she wouldn't have to do until I hit our 80s. the answer yet, but I trust in him. The answer will come someday. I'll be patient. He has a path for me and a reason for me to still be on this earth. I've opened myself up to him, trusting him completely, and I'm here for him, whatever that may be. I'd like to say I had saw some light or something in those 3 months I was out. I don't remember anything from the collision, I don't. But my one real spiritual, everything about this is spiritual, but kind of the biggest thing, it's funny, it's on the St. Michael's feast. I have St. Michael, St. Joseph tattoos on my arms. I always kept St. Michael on a pendant around my neck. They found the chain. They never found the pendant. I still have St. Joseph. I have no more St. Michael. I lost him. I lost him twice that night. So it's weird that they would find the chain, not the pendant. And my tattoos basically got on St. Michael. He was my saint when I got confirmed. Also, it's the saint I chose. He did his duty and more so. So I know who to be thankful of the many that helped me. That's basically my story. Sorry for blabbering. I hope somebody learned a little something out of it, or it just increases your faith a little bit. But that was my journey. Do I take questions? Do you want me to take questions? Anybody have any questions?
We got questions.
No. The question was, if you didn't hear it, was, do I ride a motorcycle still? No, and it's not because of me, it's because of my hearing. People give me a lot of credit for doing nothing but waking up, and if you can't walk, what do? You put one step in front of the other, and slowly you build it back up. It just, it didn't seem that hard to me. It was crazy, like mentally. 3 months later, I can't move anything. I still, to this day, when somebody calls my name, I still do it. And everyone's like, it's off, you can move it. Oh yeah, okay, I forget. So we had a long discussion when I was still in the hospital. But the emotional, mental roller coaster that she went through, was I gonna live, was I gonna die, was I gonna be paralyzed? What do we do with our house if he's been in a wheelchair? Is he going to be quadriplegic? Who knows? That meant that I would take one step forward, and then the next day, and she'd tell her friend who was doing all the social media, letting everybody know. And then literally hours later, I'd take 2 steps back. And it was just that. I don't want to do that to her again. I think the fact that I have no knowledge of the collision, I remember everything before it. I remember even getting on the freeway, and then nothing for 3 months. The fact that I have no knowledge, I'm not scared of it. I'm a little upset. That was my escape to get my mind, especially off work and the stresses of work, was just to get lost. Arizona, once you get out of the city, it's got some beautiful riding areas. If you've ever been in a car, just imagine on a bike with the area. I love it. I still do. And I learned through motor school too. Sorry if I'm going way too long, but I learned through motor school, and I don't go crazy on my bike. I got a cruiser, so I can just cruise and not really go fast. The power's there if I need it, if I need to get around something. But you always watch for the people turning left in front of you, the people pulling out in front of you. On freeways, you're looking ahead of you because especially Arizona, for some reason, you worry about wrong way drivers. I am more alert when I'm on that bike than I ever have been in a car. I never expected to look behind me and expect a car to come up behind me. It wasn't fair because I'm so ready for everything else. I still, to this day, if I get back on the freeway on a bike, I would think to look behind me. I don't think of that, so that's why I don't right now, but it's for her. So, yes, ma'am.
What role are you playing now in the police department? The same areas?
So I was I talked about being a detective for violent crimes. I actually became the sergeant of violent crimes. That was my that was my goal spot. That's where I probably would have ended my career in. That was 5 months before my accident. That position, let's put it this way, one of my first calls when I got that position as a sergeant, if you guys remember the Santan Ford incident, it was a pursuit that started at Salt River, ended up running through and over a Chandler police officer, killing him, hit a car that hit one of our Gilbert officers, sent him to the hospital, who still is not back to full duty yet. It's an intense position. It's the biggest cases we get in Gilbert usually come through there. They don't deserve to have a part-time sergeant, which I would be, because at roughly 2:30, actually 3:30, I gotta go get hooked up to dialysis and leave. So I can't be in the middle of a homicide or a major case and be like, sorry guys, I'll see you guys tomorrow. And I don't even know how sometimes I come out of dialysis pretty weary and ready to go to bed. So I couldn't do it, so I gave up the spot. Prior to doing that, our internal affairs sergeant was getting promoted, and they wanted to know if I wanted to put my name in for it. It's never a position I ever wanted. I work with Ray right here. He's laughing because we've had this conversation before. I never wanted this position, but it's good for everything I'm going through. So my chief picked me to be the sergeant for internal affairs. So we're kind of the police of the police. Yes, ma'am.
Are you on transplant list to take care of these?
Not yet. Besides, there's one of my, I was on an antibiotic for an infection I had in my spine, which was making stuff go crazy. That antibiotic would work against the drugs they give you so you don't kick the kidney out.
Anti-rejection.
Anti-rejection meds. So I did the first process, but then they're like, we didn't know you were on this. We have to take you on until you're off. I'm now off of it. I get blood tested every couple of months now to make sure the infection stays away, but I'm off. So I'm just waiting for them to call me back to go through the long process and get on the transplant list. So, yeah, hopefully someday. Hope so. Yeah, it's been crazy. Yeah, it really, like, I almost had, like, I laugh about the incident because I feel like I'm too dumb to die. Like, I just wasn't smart enough to figure, like, okay, this is it, I should be dead. I woke up, oh, I got this on, I can't walk, okay. I've got some help up, and I don't want to say it's, I don't like to be a victim, I don't like I'm a realist, so this is what's dealt me, this is what I gotta deal with. May not like it, whatever, but we gotta keep going forward, right? So it's always been my viewpoint, and it was the same thing when I woke up. So I gotta, the only way to be able to walk is to keep put one step forward and keep going to PT and just do as best as I can.
You're also very strong too.
What's that?
You're also a very strong man. So all
You
the
have-
therapists said he had incredible will. They said they've never seen somebody with more incredible will than him.
I don't think it was a comment on the muscles.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not. Anything else? Well, thank you guys for listening.
And he's okay. No, they're not.